What would you do if the most powerful man in the city heard a child say something that shattered his entire world? And instead of walking away, he sat down. No one noticed them at first. People rushed in and out of the children's hospital, coats pulled tight, eyes glued to phones, minds already somewhere else. The winter air was brutal, biting through layers, the kind of cold that made your lungs sting. A dull gray sky pressed down on everything, like the day itself was holding its breath. On a metal bench near the entrance sat a young woman and a little girl. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tunning in from? And if you believe that stories of kindness, everyday miracles, and ordinary people deserve to be shared even further, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any journey like this one. The woman's name was Emily Carter, 28, exhausted in a way sleep could never fix. Her coat was too thin, clearly thrifted, sleeves fraying at the cuffs. She held a worn canvas bag on her lap, stuffed with folded medical forms, crumpled appointment slips, and a half-empty pack of crackers she'd been stretching for days. Curled into her side was her daughter, Lily, just 4 years old. Lily's hands were red from the cold, her small body stiff, not because she was scared, but because her muscles didn't always listen to her. A rare neurological condition. Long name, longer road. Doctors said manageable, which Emily had learned was just a fancy way of saying expensive and never-ending. Emily stared straight ahead, jaw tight, blinking fast like she was trying not to fall apart in public. But Lily noticed anyway. Kids always do. Slowly, Lily dug into her tiny backpack and pulled out a wrinkled piece of cloth, a homemade handkerchief, unevenly stitched, with the word "Mom" crooked across the corner. She reached up on shaky fingers and dabbed at Emily's eyes. "Don't cry, Mom," Lily whispered, her voice soft but serious. "I know we're broke right now, but when I get better, I'm gonna get a job. I'll buy you nice stuff. I promise." Emily's face cracked. "I'm not scared of the doctors," Lily added quickly, "or the shots. I'm only scared when you look sad." A nurse passing by slowed, swallowing hard. An older woman stopped completely, pressing a hand to her chest. And just a few steps away, a black luxury sedan rolled to a stop. The driver's door opened. Ethan Cole, billionaire CEO of one of the biggest media empires in the country, stepped out mid-phone call. Custom coat, sharp suit, wireless earbuds in. He spoke fast, confident. "Push the deal to Friday. If we miss this window, it's dead. Yeah, handle it." He reached for his keys. Then he heard her. "I'm only scared when you're sad." Ethan froze. Something about that sentence hit him sideways like a punch he never saw coming. He pulled one earbud out slowly. His eyes drifted toward the bench. A tired mother, a fragile child, and a moment so raw it didn't care who was rich or powerful. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't know what to do. He stood there debating. Then, against every instinct he'd trained himself to follow, he turned and took a step toward them. What made a man who controlled billions choose a cold hospital bench over his waiting car? And why would this single moment change all three of their lives forever? Ethan Cole didn't sit right away. For a second, he just stood there like he'd forgotten how benches worked. His phone buzzed again in his hand. Another executive, another fire to put out. But he ignored it. That alone would have shocked anyone who knew him. Ethan Cole didn't ignore calls, ever. Emily noticed the shadow first. She stiffened and pulled Lily a little closer, instinct kicking in. Years of being overlooked, judged, pitied, she'd learned to stay guarded. When she glanced up and saw the man standing there, expensive coat, polished shoes, the kind of guy who looked like he belonged in a boardroom and not on a freezing hospital sidewalk, her shoulders tightened. "It's okay," she said quickly, forcing a polite smile. "You don't have to," but Ethan was already moving. He slipped the other earbud out, tucked both into his coat pocket, and sat down at the far end of the bench. Not too close. Not invading space, just there. For a moment, none of them spoke. The city noise faded into the background. Cars passed. Doors slid open and shut behind them. Cold air rushed by, but somehow the silence felt warmer than expected. Lily peeked at him first. She wasn't scared. She wasn't curious in a greedy way either. She just looked at him like kids do when they sense something important but don't yet have words for it. Ethan noticed the small sketchbook in her hands. "What are you drawing there, kiddo?" he asked quietly. Emily flinched at the word kiddo, but Lily brightened. "Me and my mom," she said, holding it up just enough for him to see. Two shaky stick figures on a bench. One tall, one small. Above them, uneven letters read, "Waiting again." Ethan swallowed. "That's pretty awesome," he said. "You're an artist," Lily shrugged. "Kinda. Mom says I draw with my heart." Emily blinked, surprised. She hadn't expected conversation. Definitely hadn't expected kindness without strings. "She's 4, Emily said carefully. "And she gets tired easily." Ethan nodded like he understood more than she'd said. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small tin of mints, the kind executives handed out during meetings. He held it out not to Emily but to Lily. "Peppermint?" he asked. "No pressure." Lily looked up at her mom for permission. Emily hesitated, then nodded once. "Thank you, mister," Lily said, taking one like it was treasure. Ethan smiled, and for just a split second the mask he wore in public slipped. Something softer showed through, something sad. He stood a few minutes later, brushing imaginary dust from his coat. "Well," he said, "I won't keep you guys. Just wanted to say you're doing great." Emily opened her mouth to respond, but he was already walking away. She watched him disappear into the hospital, confused. Hope was dangerous. She knew that. And yet, something felt different. What Emily didn't see was Ethan at the reception desk moments later, lowering his voice, asking a name, making a decision that would rewrite all their futures. Why did Ethan Cole ask for Lily's file instead of his car? And what secret from his past pushed him to make a move no one would ever expect? Ethan didn't hesitate at the reception desk. The woman behind the counter looked up, ready with a polite, tired smile, the kind reserved for worried parents and frustrated relatives. She didn't recognize him at first. No suit jacket logo, no entourage, just a tall man with calm eyes and a voice that carried quiet authority. "I'm looking for a patient," Ethan said. "Lily Carter." The receptionist paused. "Are you family?" Ethan shook his head once. "No, but I'd like to take care of her account." That made her look up. "I'm sorry, sir, we can only discuss billing with—" "I don't need details," he interrupted gently. "I just need the balance, current and future." The room went still. After a brief, awkward pause and one discreet call to a supervisor, the numbers appeared on the screen. The receptionist's fingers slowed as she read. Her eyebrows lifted before she caught herself. "It's extensive," she said carefully. "Therapy, medications, specialized testing, we're talking long-term." Ethan exhaled through his nose. He already knew, he'd seen this before. Different hospital, different child, same sterile smell, same helpless feeling. 6 months, he said, cover everything and set it up so she won't get blocked from care again. The supervisor leaned in. "Sir, that's a significant amount." Ethan pulled out his card. "I'm aware." No press. No paperwork in his name. No conditions. He signed once and slid the card back into his wallet like he just paid for coffee. When he walked out, he didn't look back. Later that afternoon, Emily stood at the billing office counter, Lily asleep against her shoulder, exhausted from another round of tests. Emily's voice was quiet, practiced. "I was wondering if I could set up a payment plan," she said. "Even something small, I just don't want her appointments canceled again." The clerk typed, frowned, then typed again. Her expression changed. She said slowly. There's nothing to arrange. Emily blinked. I'm sorry. Your daughter's account has been fully covered, all current charges, plus future care for the next 6 months. Emily's heart slammed into her ribs. That's not possible, she whispered. There has to be some mistake. The clerk hesitated, then lowered her voice. It was paid anonymously, but the foundation listed is connected to an Ethan Cole. The name hit Emily like ice water. That Ethan Cole, the media mogul, the billionaire, the man whose name floated through headlines and business podcasts like he lived on a different planet. Her hands started to shake. She didn't think. She didn't plan. She just ran, out of the office, through the automatic doors, across the parking lot. Wait, she called, her voice cracking. Ethan turned just as she reached him, breathless. You can't do this, she said, words tumbling out. I didn't ask for help. I don't want to owe you anything. Ethan listened, really listened. You don't owe me a damn thing, he said quietly. This isn't charity. Then why? Emily demanded. His jaw tightened. He looked past her toward the horizon. I had a daughter, he said. I kept telling myself I had time. I was wrong. He met her eyes again. This time I didn't walk away. Emily stood frozen, tears burning. Behind her, Lily stirred and whispered, half asleep, Mom, who's that? Ethan crouched slightly, smiling softly. Just someone who decided to sit down. What Emily didn't know was that this decision would pull her back into a world she escaped years ago and expose a truth that could tear everything apart. Emily didn't sleep that night. Lily finally drifted off around midnight, curled on her side with a crayon still clenched in her fingers like a security blanket. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that made thoughts get loud. Emily sat at the tiny kitchen table, staring at the peeling paint on the wall, replaying everything over and over. The bench, the peppermint, the name at the billing desk. Ethan Cole. Men like him didn't just help. They didn't sit on cold benches or disappear without asking for something in return. That was how the world worked. And yet he had. She opened a drawer she rarely touched. Inside was an old manila folder, edges bent, corners soft from being moved too many times. She hesitated, then pulled it out. The papers inside were yellowed, some handwritten, some printed short stories. Her stories. Before life got brutal, before hospitals and night shifts and learning how to stretch $5 into dinner, before she stopped believing her voice mattered. She flipped through them, heart pounding. One story caught her eye, short, raw, unpolished, about a man who kept walking past people who needed him until one day he didn't. Emily laughed softly. Figures, she muttered. She reread it twice, then once more. This was stupid, risky, embarrassing, but something inside her wouldn't let it go. The next morning, after Lily's therapy session, Emily printed the story at the library. She slid it into a plain envelope, no return address. On the front, she wrote, "You don't have to read this, but thank you for sitting down." She almost threw it away. Instead, she handed it to the nurse at the front desk and asked, "If Mr. Cole comes by, could you give this to him?" The nurse smiled knowingly. "I think he will." Ethan read it in his car, not in his office, not during a meeting. In the driver's seat, engine off, phone ignored. The words hit harder than he expected. They weren't fancy. They weren't polished, but they were honest. Painfully honest. The kind of writing that didn't try to impress, just tried to survive. By the time he reached the last page, his hands were still. That night, Emily found a small package waiting at her door. Inside, a leather-bound notebook, a fountain pen, and a folded note. "The world needs voices like yours. Don't stop writing." No signature, no pressure, just permission. From that day on, Emily wrote again. One story a week. No deadline. No expectations. She gave them to the same nurse who started looking forward to Thursdays more than payday. Lily started drawing pictures for Ethan too. Stick figures. rainbows, a man in a suit with a huge red heart. Ethan kept every single one. Then one night, while reading a story titled The Father Who Stayed, something inside him broke. Because the little girl in the story drew the same butterfly his daughter once had. And for the first time in years, Ethan cried. What Emily didn't realize was that her words were about to open a door Ethan had locked forever. And the truth behind that door would change everything between them. The call came just after midnight. Emily was half asleep on the couch, laundry folded in uneven stacks, the TV humming low with some rerun she wasn't really watching. Lily had finally gone down after a rough day. Therapy had wiped her out, and for once the apartment felt calm. Then she heard it, a soft whimper, then a sharp, choking sound. Emily's heart jumped straight into her throat. "Lily," she whispered, already moving. By the time she reached the bedroom, Lily's small body was shaking, limbs jerking in a way Emily recognized too well. Her skin was pale, her lips tinged blue. "No, no, no, baby, stay with me," Emily said, hands trembling as she grabbed her coat and wrapped Lily in a blanket. She didn't remember calling for help, didn't remember the ride, only the sirens screaming inside her head. At the ER, nurses rushed Lily from her arms. Doors slammed. Monitors beeped. Emily was left standing there, empty, shaking, suddenly very alone. She collapsed onto a bench outside the ICU. And this time she didn't hold it together. Her shoulders shook silently. She pressed her fists to her mouth, terrified to make a sound, as if being quiet might somehow keep her daughter alive. She didn't hear the footsteps, didn't see Ethan until he was right there. His hair was messy, his tie gone, his dress shirt wrinkled like he'd been sleeping in it or running. He didn't ask questions. He just sat down beside her and pulled her into his arms. Emily froze for half a second, then broke. All the fear, all the exhaustion, all the years of doing everything alone poured out of her. She cried into his chest like she'd been holding her breath for years and finally exhaled. Ethan held her, not like a CEO, not like a fixer, just like someone who stayed. Hours passed. A doctor finally approached, voice low. "She's stable, sedated, no new damage. You got her here in time." Emily's legs gave out. Later, sunlight crept through the hallway windows. Emily had fallen asleep sitting up, her head tilted awkwardly against the bench. When she stirred, she felt something soft under her cheek. Ethan's coat. He was still there. "You didn't have to stay," she whispered. "I know," he said quietly. "I wanted to." A few days later, Emily went to Ethan's office for the first time, only because Lily insisted on delivering a new drawing in person. The office was warm. Books everywhere, framed crayon art on the shelves. Then Emily saw the photo, an old corporate event, men in suits, glasses raised, her stomach dropped. She recognized one face instantly, the editor, the man who had cornered her years ago, the complaint she filed, the job she lost. And at the bottom of that termination letter, Ethan Cole's signature. Her breath caught. "I should go," she said, voice tight. Ethan followed her gaze, and in that moment, he realized the truth he'd never seen before. What secret from Ethan's past had just resurfaced, and would it destroy the fragile trust they were only beginning to build? Emily disappeared for 3 days. No calls, no texts, no visits to the hospital, the park, or the little bookstore Lily loved. Ethan noticed immediately. He told himself to give her space, but every hour that passed felt heavier. The office felt colder, quieter, like something important had slipped through his fingers. On the 4th morning, he found her where he should have expected, the park, the same bench near the duck pond. Emily sat staring at the water, hands folded in her lap. She wasn't crying. That somehow felt worse. Ethan approached slowly and sat, not too close, but close enough. "I didn't know it was you," he said quietly. Back then, Emily didn't look at him. "You signed the letter," she replied. "That was enough." Ethan nodded. "No excuses, no spinning it." "I was new as CEO," he said. "HR flagged it as resolved." I didn't dig deeper. I didn't ask why a young intern was suddenly a problem. I chose convenience. He swallowed hard. "I failed you." The words landed heavy. Emily's hands clenched. "I thought I imagined you reading my work. I thought if you really knew who I was, you wouldn't want to hear me." Ethan turned toward her fully. "Your writing is the only thing that made me stop pretending I was fine. You didn't just remind me of my daughter, you reminded me who I wanted to be." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Emily exhaled. "I don't know if I can just forgive that." "I'm not asking you to," Ethan said. "I just want to be honest and to stay." A week later, the press lost their minds. Isaac, no, Ethan Cole called a press conference. No product launch, no shareholders, just him. "I dismissed a woman's voice 6 years ago," he said into the microphones. "I chose comfort over courage, and because of that, someone brave was pushed out of this industry." He didn't say Emily's name. He didn't need to. "I was wrong. I'm sorry, and I'm doing better now, not to erase the past, but to face it." He announced a foundation, support for single parents raising children with rare illnesses. Quiet, no branding. Emily found out from a nurse who showed her the article on her phone. For the first time, someone had stood up for her without asking her to relive the worst moment of her life. That night, Emily wrote her final story for Ethan. A week later, an editor from a small press reached out. They'd read her work, wanted to publish it. The book would be called Letters I Never Sent Until He Sat Down. On a warm spring morning, Ethan pulled up in an old sedan. Lily ran to him, backpack bouncing. "Can I call you Daddy Ethan?" she asked. He knelt, eyes wet. "You can call me whatever you want." Emily watched, smiling softly. They weren't perfect. They weren't polished, but they were present. And that changed everything. But just when it seemed like healing had begun, a final choice remained, one that would decide whether this was just a chapter or a forever. The book launch was nothing like Emily imagined. No flashy stage, no celebrity hosts, just a quiet little bookstore packed wall to wall with people standing shoulder to shoulder, copies of Letters I Never Sent Until He Sat Down tucked under their arms like something fragile and personal. Emily stood near the back, palms sweaty, heart racing. She'd written those stories in silence, in hospital waiting rooms, at midnight when Lily finally slept. She never expected this many strangers to care. Ethan stood off to the side, deliberately out of the spotlight. No suit, no security, just a navy sweater and nervous energy he couldn't hide. When Emily was called to speak, her knees almost gave out. She stepped up, clearing her throat. "I didn't write these stories to be brave," she said. "I wrote them because staying silent hurt worse." The room went still. She didn't mention Ethan by name. But when she spoke about the man who chose to sit down instead of walking away, heads turned toward him anyway. After the signing, Lily tugged Ethan's sleeve. "Daddy Ethan," she whispered loudly, "this place smells like old books and cookies." People laughed softly. That night, after Lily fell asleep in the backseat, Emily sat quietly while Ethan drove. Streetlights flickered past. The car hummed. "I need to ask you something," Emily said. Ethan tightened his grip on the wheel. "Okay, it works because you don't try to save me, but I need to know if things get hard again, are you staying?" He didn't answer right away. Then he pulled the car over. "I spent my whole life leaving," he said. "Meetings, moments, people, I don't want to do that anymore." He looked at her, eyes steady. "I'm not perfect, but I'm not going anywhere." Emily nodded, tears slipping free. Weeks passed. Life didn't magically fix itself. Lily still had therapy. Emily still worked. Ethan still had responsibilities. But now the weight wasn't carried alone. One evening, Lily handed Ethan a drawing. It was 3 stick figures on a bench. Above them, she'd written, "They stayed." Ethan swallowed hard. That night he sat on the edge of Lily's bed as she drifted off. "Hey," she murmured sleepily. "You're not gonna disappear, right?" "Nope," he whispered. "I'm right here." Emily watched from the doorway. Later, as they stood in the kitchen, Ethan spoke quietly. "There's something else." She tensed. "I was offered a position overseas. Huge expansion. Old me would have jumped." "And now?" she asked. "I turned it down." Emily stared at him. "I choose this," he said. "All of it." She stepped forward and hugged him, not like someone afraid to lose, but like someone finally safe. But the world doesn't always let happy endings come easy, and one final test was still waiting. The first sign of trouble came quietly. An email. No subject line, just a forwarded link. Emily opened it while Lily colored at the kitchen table, humming to herself. The headline made her stomach drop. "Media mogul's redemption story raises questions about motives." Emily scrolled. Anonymous sources, old colleagues, people who had never met her but suddenly had opinions. Some said Ethan was using charity to clean his image. Others implied Emily was a carefully crafted sob story. Her hands shook. Across town, Ethan was already dealing with it. Board members called emergency meetings. Advisors urged him to distance himself. PR teams drafted statements he refused to read. "This is bad optics," one executive said. "Personal involvement, emotional decision-making." Ethan leaned back in his chair, jaw tight. "I'm not backing away. But your credibility isn't worth much if it costs me my soul," he snapped. At home that night, Emily tried to act normal, but Ethan noticed. "You okay?" he asked. She handed him her phone. He read the article slowly. When he finished, he exhaled sharply. "I'm sorry, I should have protected you better." Emily shook her head. "I've been judged my whole life. That part I can handle. What scares me is Lily." As if summoned, Lily looked up. "Why is Mommy sad again?" Emily froze. Ethan crouched down. "Hey, Peanut, sometimes grown-ups say dumb stuff because they don't understand." Lily thought about that. Like when kids say mean things on the playground. "Exactly like that," Ethan said. "Then we don't listen," Lily declared firmly. Emily laughed through tears, but the pressure didn't stop. Invitations were rescinded. Sponsors hesitated. Ethan's foundation was questioned publicly. And then came the worst call of all, a lawyer. "Your past HR decisions are being reviewed," the voice said carefully. "This could get messy." That night, Ethan sat alone in his office, staring at the city lights. Old instincts whispered to him, "Step back, protect yourself, walk away." He grabbed his coat, then stopped. Instead of driving to a hotel or a meeting, he went home. Emily was on the couch, staring blankly at the TV. "I might lose everything," Ethan said quietly. "Career, reputation, control." Emily looked at him. "What do you want?" "I want to be here," he said, "even if the world hates me for it." She stood and wrapped her arms around him. "Then stay." The next morning, Ethan did something no one expected. He didn't release a statement. He sat down. Live interview, no script. "I'm not a hero," he said on camera. "I'm a man who failed once and decided not to fail again. If that costs me power, so be it." The internet exploded. Some mocked him, some praised him, but one thing was clear: he wasn't hiding anymore. At home, Lily taped a new drawing to the fridge. A storm cloud. 3 stick figures holding hands underneath. Above it, she wrote, "Still here." But when the final decision came down, it wouldn't be the public or the media who decided their future, it would be Lily. The courtroom wasn't as scary as Emily imagined. Cold, yes. Quiet, too quiet. The kind of place where every breath felt loud. Ethan sat beside her, not in a power suit, but in a simple gray jacket. No lawyers whispering in his ear. No entourage. Just him. Lily sat between them, feet dangling, swinging gently like she didn't have a care in the world. She held her bunny in one hand and a folded drawing in the other. The review board was there to decide one thing: whether Ethan's past failures disqualified him from leading the foundation he created. They talked numbers, policies, liability. No one mentioned love. Then the chairwoman glanced down at Lily. "And who is this?" she asked gently. Lily sat up straight. "I'm Lily, I'm 4.5. A few people smiled despite themselves. "Do you know why we're here today?" the woman asked. Lily nodded seriously. "Because some people think Daddy Ethan shouldn't help kids like me." The room shifted. "That's one way to put it," the chairwoman said softly. Lily looked around. "He didn't help me to be famous. He helped me because my mom was sad. And I don't like when my mom is sad." Emily covered her mouth. Ethan stared straight ahead, afraid to breathe. Lily held up her drawing, 3 stick figures on a bench. "This is when he stayed," she said. "If you make him go away, my mom will cry again." Silence. The chairwoman cleared her throat. "Thank you, Lily, that's enough." Lily nodded and sat back down, satisfied. The decision came an hour later. The foundation would stand. Ethan would remain, full transparency, full accountability. Outside, Emily collapsed against him, relief flooding through her. "You okay?" Ethan asked. She nodded. "Because you didn't run." That night, they celebrated with cheap takeout and laughter. Lily fell asleep mid-sentence, fries still in her hand. Later, Ethan stood on the balcony staring at the city. Emily joined him. "You know," she said, "I don't need you to fix everything." "I know," he replied. "I just want to be here for it." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Emily's breath caught. "I'm not asking for perfection," he said. "Just a chance to keep choosing you." Before she could answer, Lily appeared, sleepy-eyed. "Are you guys getting married?" she asked bluntly. Ethan laughed. Emily laughed harder. "Not yet," Emily said. Lily yawned. "Okay, just don't forget the bench." Ethan smiled softly. "How could we?" The question wasn't whether Ethan would stay anymore. It was what kind of family they were brave enough to become. The spring air felt lighter, not because life was perfect, but because it was finally honest. The 3 of them sat on the same park bench where everything had quietly begun. The ducks still waddled by. Kids still laughed in the distance. The world hadn't slowed down for them, but somehow they had learned how to exist inside it together. Lily kicked her legs, humming softly. "Mom," she said suddenly, "do you think benches remember people?" Emily smiled. "Maybe." "Why?" "Because this one saw us waiting," Lily said, "and now it sees us happy." Ethan swallowed hard. Emily reached for his hand, not carefully, not cautiously, but naturally, like it belonged there. Months had passed since the courtroom, since the headlines faded, since the world moved on to the next story. But this was real. Therapy sessions still happened. Bad days still showed up uninvited. Bills still came. Fear still whispered sometimes. But nobody was facing it alone anymore. Ethan had moved into their small apartment, not to take over, not to change it, but to fit into it. His suits shared space with thrift store jackets. His meetings ended earlier. His phone stayed face down at dinner. He had learned something money never taught him: presence. Emily's book sat on shelves now, not everywhere, not flashy, but enough. Letters from readers arrived weekly, single parents, grieving fathers, tired mothers who said, "Your words made me feel seen." She still wrote at the kitchen table. Lily still colored beside her. Ethan still read every draft first, not as a CEO, but as someone who listened. One evening, Lily climbed into Ethan's lap with a serious face. "If you're really my dad," she said, "you have to promise something." He nodded. "Anything, kiddo. Promise you won't disappear when stuff gets messy." Ethan didn't joke, didn't dodge. "I promise," he said. "No matter what," she smiled, satisfied. "Okay, then you can tuck me in forever." Later that night, Emily stood beside him on the balcony. "You know," she said softly, I spent years thinking love meant being rescued. Ethan looked at her. And now I know it means being chosen over and over. He pulled out the small velvet box again. This time she didn't hesitate. Yes, she said, laughing through tears. Down the street, the city buzzed. Somewhere, someone hurried past a bench without stopping. But this time, someone had sat down. And because of that, 3 lives changed forever. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't fixing everything, it's staying.